What needed to happen for one of the biggest headcount gaming studios in the world to go from meteoric success in the 2010s to, as of recent memory, a turbulent vessel with a shaken future? Major high-profile flops and underperformances have brought them to this point, resulting in their stock price at a low not seen since 2011. In conjunction with an over 10-figure net loss in fiscal year 2025 and a tainted reputation among fans, the once beloved studio that brought the gaming world projects like Rainbow Six Siege and Assassin's Creed Black Flag may, in the foreseeable future, have no choice but to wave a white one. But before we get ahead of ourselves, in this video, we'll be looking at the state of French-based video game developer Ubisoft and putting it into frame. So, how does a company the size of Ubisoft fail to grab any ledge on the way down of a very high cliff? You'd expect, coming off the heels of a pandemic, things would slow down or go back to normal. And yes, with a volatile flurry of layoffs, they did, but in the case of Ubisoft, normal never returned. And well, to understand why, we need to take a look at the games, because they're a gaming company after all. So, let's start with what they've released in the past, give or take 5 years, aligning approximately post-pandemic. First up, Far Cry 6. The entry reviewed mixed on both Steam and Metacritic, with about 500 mixed recent reviews via Steam and a 5.5 user review score on Metacritic at the time of writing, with online discourse mentioning how repetitive and predictable the series has become. Now, I couldn't find any direct numbers from Ubisoft on the budget and sales front, but it's safe to assume, judging by the multi-studio collaboration and 5-year dev time, this game cost at minimum $100 million to produce. So with the shy post-launch voice from Ubisoft, it's safe to assume money was made, just not the amount they were expecting. Moving on some years, we have Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, released December 7th of 2023. Initially poised to launch parallel to the film Avatar: The Way of Water, the game would see a delay, decoupling it from ideal scheduling. Frontiers of Pandora was another multi-studio endeavor with an approximate 6-year dev cycle, headed by Sweden-based Massive Entertainment. The budget was undisclosed by Ubisoft, but citing its mention as a quadruple A title by an employee on LinkedIn, it's safe to assume it was high. The game was estimated in early 2024 to have done roughly $133 million in revenue. This, coupled with the Metacritic outing in the 70s, no doubt left a mild taste on Ubisoft's palate. However, with another theatrical release on the docket, the title would prove to have legs, seeing a resurgence via a DLC titled From the Ashes to coincide with the release of the film Avatar: Fire and Ash. The game would hit a new all-time peak on SteamDB, also charting 80th on PSN, a first since its release. All in all, surely they made a return on investment, but again, probably not to the level they were looking for, especially given the IP's gravitas. Scooting along some months, we have Skull and Bones, and oh boy, where to start. This title had a very troubled development, releasing in February of 2024 with a Metacritic of plus a budget upwards of $850 million, and a dev cycle spanning over a decade, touting the title as arguably the biggest gaming flop of all time, standing in the same room of lunches like Concord and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. The project was originally intended as a DLC to 2013's Black Flag, with it being continuously morphed. At one point, it was referred to as Black Flag Infinite, before receiving its current name. With several delays to boot, it slowly became a nightmare project for Ubisoft, with statements from former employees stating, quote, "Skull and Bones never had a clear creative vision behind it, suffered from too many managers vying for power, and was plagued by almost annual reboots and many refreshes." Years into development, basic questions around the game's core design still haven't been nailed down, even as ambitions for the would-be games as a service continue to mount within Ubisoft's head pair's office, end quote. This fumble could be talked about for hours on end, and perhaps serves as the perfect poster child for Ubisoft's current situation as a company. Moving on to the next massive release, we have Star Wars Outlaws. This was Ubisoft's most recent Star Wars publishing, adding on to the surprisingly short list. The action-adventure outing was developed by Massive Games, releasing on August 30th of 2024. Touted as the first open-world Star Wars game, it underwent a modest 4-year development with an estimated budget of $200 to $300 million, alongside the biggest marketing budget Ubisoft has ever had for a project up till that point. The game failed expectations according to Ubisoft, both in reviews and sales. The floor was quite high, with the game needing to ship about 5.5 million at full price to break even. However, full price is a lot to ask, which is why it received a discount the day of hitting the Steam store that November. This was a severe miss for Ubisoft, especially relative to what other publishers had been able to do with the brand. Finally, getting to a staple Ubisoft IP, we're talking the butter on their bread, the Eiffel Tower of their Paris, the queen in the chess. Okay, you get the point. Assassin's Creed Shadows was released March 20th of last year, and it saved the company, reviewing to a roaring 81 critic score on Metacritic. Is what Ubisoft would have liked to say. Unfortunately, I don't think that was the case. As you may have noticed, Ubisoft is very reserved about citing exact sales numbers. At launch day, they stated Assassin's Creed Shadows did numbers second to only 2020's Valhalla, and with Valhalla going on to gross over $1 billion in revenue, this is a good trajectory to be on. However, a strong start will not always constitute a strong end. Ubisoft needed this game to be a roaring success, but with an estimated 4.3 million units sold as of late 2025, it isn't quite a home run. And with other samurai adventures such as Ghost of Yotei from Little Lord Sucker Punch outselling Creed Shadows and its 7-month head start on PlayStation, the picture looks increasingly blurry regarding the shape of Ubisoft's future. To be frank, a studio of this size, with this much noteworthy IP, struggling, says a lot more about the management than the developers actually working on the games. Luke Stevens on Spawnwave Cast did a decent job portraying this.
Yeah, well, I remember reading an investor piece, like an industry analyst investor piece, and this is probably like a year and a half ago, but so it might have changed. But back then, the analyst estimated that the value of Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, and there was one other IP that they own. Maybe it was Prince of, no, I guess it must have been like Tom Clancy or something. But they said that the value of like those big IP was roughly $4 to $7 billion by themselves. And at the time, Ubisoft was trading at like 1.4 billion. And so, of course, you think of it like that doesn't make any sense. Like if the things they own are worth this much, why are they valued here? That doesn't make any sense. And it's literally because that gap is just the doubt.
YouTube link to that video is in the description. Gaming is bigger than it's ever been, and a company like Ubisoft should be at the helm of that, or at least close to it. The next dated release on the docket for them is Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, and funny enough, I do think this will sell better as a remake than some of the aforementioned heavy hitters. But the clock is ticking, with around 380 employees being laid off as recently as June 2026. Not to mention, fish like Tencent being eager to swim in and properly buy them out, as they've shown continuous interest in them with joint ventures. Only one thing's for certain, the end to this story is one you don't want to miss. Oh, still watching? I guess that means you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave a like. Catch you later.